So I was scrolling through Temu the other day, and I came across a microphone that said U87. I thought, I know the U87, the Neumann U87, that amazing microphone that's like $4,000 with tax. Now, I don't have a Neumann U87 because they're $4,000 with tax. So when I saw a U87 on Temu for like 25 bucks, I'm like, we gotta try that out, right? So here it is. Here's my U87 from Temu. We're gonna check it out. My guess is it's gonna sound like complete crap, but I guess we'll find out. All right, check out the box. You can see professional condenser microphone. Now, if that doesn't convince you, I don't know. I don't know what will. Look at that. It actually says model U87. It's a U87, dudes. All right, so operation guide. You can see that you take the microphone switch to the on position. Don't set it in the on, just take it there, right? Take it to the off when the microphone not used. Makes sense to me. Caution, listen, don't put the microphone on high temperature and moisture place. Totally makes sense. Take the microphone to the best distance, 5 to 10 centimeters from the mouth, so that avoid the noise. Now, we all want to avoid the noise. Now, I will say that 5 to 10 centimeters, which is like 2 to 3 inches, that's pretty close for a condenser microphone. You know what I mean? There should be tons of proximity effect. All right, here we go, guys. A moment of truth. Wow, look at that. Paper. Comes with a shock mount that feels entirely made of plastic. Kind of weird for a U87, but what do I know? All right, here's the microphone, dudes. Microphone U87 XLR, okay, as it should be. And the mark of a professional microphone, an XLR to 3.5 millimeter cable. All right, so yeah, the shock mount is entirely made of plastic. Very cheaply made. Even the screw is plastic. The microphone, it feels like a condenser, you know. It's definitely metal. It says it has a gold-plated capsule. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. There's your XLR. So, I guess we'll get it mounted up. I'm not going to use this cable because, I mean, come on, 3.5 millimeter. We're going to use a legit XLR into an actual audio interface. If you look at this graph, it actually shows a pretty wide frequency response with a bit of a bump here, over 10K, I guess for some air. It's unidirectional, and it says, I mean, it clearly says that this is a professional high quality microphone, so it has to be true. All right, so we'll get the shock mount mounted on a boom arm here, and we'll check it out. All right, we got the mount in there. Attach the microphone. It is threaded, so I guess it'll be nice and secure in here. All right, so we'll pop in the XLR cable. All right. Other side in the audio interface. Let's test it out. All right, folks, so we have the Temu U87 hooked up with an XLR cable into an audio interface with phantom power turned on. So we are ready to hear this famous, this exquisite microphone, the U87. This is the Temu U87. How does it sound, folks? Does it sound amazing? I don't know. I'm wearing headphones, so I really have no clue. It could sound great for all I know. $25 microphone. Does it sound good? Does it sound bad? Well, that is for you to decide. I don't really have the gain cranked up too much right now. Let me come in a little bit closer. It says for the best sound to only be like 2 inches away. And I have to keep holding this because it's so light that it just flies up, right? Which is, you know, usually when you're buying a really expensive, high quality microphone, they're pretty heavy. This one is not. But hey, lighter means less for you to carry around. So it's really for your own convenience. So this is the Temu U87, like a $25 microphone or so. How does it sound? Does it sound like an actual Neumann U87? That's for you to decide. If it sounds like a Neumann U87, let's try out that proximity effect. Okay, so now we're very, very close here. Do we have a very nice, large, wide, and deep bottom that you get whenever you record with an actual condenser microphone, even like $100 condenser microphone? Do we have that depth, that weight, along with the top end clarity? In a world where one man fights for justice. Okay, let me crank the gain up a little bit. All right, so now I have the gain cranked up a bit so I can get this microphone further away from me. You know, with the condenser microphones, you can actually usually set these further away than like a dynamic mic. That's one of the great things about condensers. You can even get them a foot away and still have a really great sound. So I don't know what this sounds like to you, but this is around a little bit over a foot away or so. How does that sound? Again, up to you. I'll bring it a little bit closer here. So now we have, the gain isn't even up that high. How does it sound on this gain setting here? Now I'm going to be quiet for just a second. You hear that? That's a lot of noise. I didn't think the Neumann would have that high of a noise floor, but hey, what do I know, right? Let me connect another condenser microphone and put it on the same gain level so you can hear the noise floor of that. This is the MXL 2008. Now this microphone normally costs around $100, but I actually got it many years ago from Amazon for only $30. So I just want to compare this to the Temu U87 so you can hear what a legitimate condenser microphone sounds like versus the Temu U87. So I'm using the same input, the same cable, and the same gain level. So I'll be quiet for a second and listen to that noise floor. You hear the difference, folks? You hear how much more quiet this is? Now, you did hear something. That's just room tone, but that fizziness is not present in a legitimate condenser microphone, even one that only costs $30 if it's legitimate. So I'll come much closer to it, and we'll hear the proximity effect of a real condenser microphone. Listen to the low end, listen to that bottom end, listen to how deep and rich it sounds, and how articulate the top end is. In a world, we do it without breathing right into the capsule. In a world where one man fights for justice. So you can compare that to what it sounds like on the Temu U87. In a world where one man fights for justice. In a world where one man fights for justice. All right, so back to the Temu U87, a $25 microphone. Let's compare that to the Shure SM7B. All right, so here we have the Shure SM7B, a microphone we all know and love, a microphone that everybody uses. Of course, it's a much more expensive microphone, somewhere around $450 or so these days. So again, Shure SM7B. Temu U87. This is the Temu U87. How does it sound? Up to you. Listen to the sound, articulation, the top end, the bottom end, the mid-range. In a world where one man fights for justice. The Shure SM7B. We all know this microphone, amazing microphone. In a world where one man fights for justice. All right, so what do you think about this $25 microphone? Is it garbage, or is this the deal of a lifetime? A U87 for only $25. Well, folks, leave your comments. Do you think this microphone sounds good? Let me know. If you will be running out right now to purchase the amazing, awesome Temu U87.